Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission is, well, it's always the same. We take a targeted stack of sources, articles, field notes, you name it, and we distill the most essential, surprising knowledge so you can walk away feeling completely informed fast.
And today we've got a fantastic set of notes. They're from a really sharp-eyed gardener. It starts off simple, just observations in a store, but it gets deep, fast. We're talking botanical names, plant resilience, and then this one magnificent species that frankly deserves way more attention.
That's right, we're zeroing in on clarity today. Clarity in the language we all use, clarity in how we can, assess how tough a plant is, and clarity on this one amazing species, the garlic vine or Mansoa alliacea.
What's so great about this is that the knowledge is kind of hidden in plain sight. We're just trying to give you the context to see the value in what looks like, I don't know, just everyday gardening stuff. And it all starts with where we actually shop for our plants.
Let's start with precision then. The source notes make a huge deal about this, and it's so true. If you're trying to learn something quickly and actually use that knowledge, you need the right tools, and the first tool is just accurate labeling. Our observers stressed how critical it is when a plant is tagged with both its common name and, crucially, that specific botanical name.
Oh, that's non-negotiable for anyone serious about this. I mean, common names are great, they're fun, but they can be all over the place depending on where you live. You could search for garlic vine and, get 3 different plants.
Right.
But if you search Mansoa alliacea, boom, you get specific, peer-reviewed data, exactly what it needs, how it blooms, how to propagate it. No guesswork.
And speaking of getting the terms right, the source pushes us to correct a mistake I think we all make. We just call every place that sells plants a nursery.
And that's such a critical distinction. It really is. When we talk about these places, being precise matters, especially if you're looking for something unique or you need, specialist advice. Most of the time, what you're visiting is a garden center, a garden retailer.
So what's the difference? What defines the retailer?
The retailer buys plants that are already grown. Their whole focus is sales, convenience, getting things in and out the door. They get their stock wholesale from these huge suppliers and sell it to you. The person there might be a great gardener, but they probably didn't grow that specific plant from a seed.
Okay, so a true plant nursery. That's a different beast entirely. That's where the magic really happens.
Exactly. A true nursery is all about propagating. They're the growers. They're starting from seed, from a cutting, and this is key for a lot of the specialized stuff, they're using techniques like tissue culture.
Hang on, tissue culture, that sounds very high-tech. For anyone listening who's curious, what exactly are we talking about there?
Think of it like cloning a plant, but in a totally sterile lab. Instead of a seed, you take a tiny, tiny piece of the plant, like a microscopic bit of a leaf, and you grow it on this special nutrient gel in a petri dish.
And why does that matter?
Because it means you get a precise 100% consistent genetic line. If you're buying a rare named variety, you want to know it came from a tissue culture or was propagated by an expert nursery. It's quality control, really.
I see. So knowing that difference nursery versus retailer, it tells you where the real expertise is, where the unique genetics are. If I want a very specific type of Mansoa alliacea, I need to find a specialized nursery, not just my local garden center.
That's the practical takeaway. It saves you so much time. Using the right language, the botanical name, the right venue, it's foundational. It tells you if you're talking to the manufacturer or just the distributor.
Now, this is where the source material does a complete 180, which I love. It's this fantastic, almost cynical point. The Observer says there's another huge reason to love garden retailers, and it involves looking at the plants in the worst possible way. They call it the opportunity to observe plants under long-term and neglect care.
It's a brilliant insight. It's accidental, but it's brilliant. Like we just said, retailers are about turnover. They can't give that intensive, specialized care a small nursery would, especially not for plants that have been sitting there for weeks, or maybe it's the wrong season.
So you walk in and you see the reality. Dusty leaves, maybe some crispy edges, the pot's a bit too small. Commercial stress.
Exactly. And that environment, which, it looks terrible, it's actually the perfect stress test for a smart gardener. It inadvertently reveals which plants are just naturally tough, which ones can actually survive with minimal attention. It's an accidental hardiness trial.
I love that. So you're telling me I should actually be looking at the sad but still alive plants on the clearance rack? That feels so counterintuitive. It's like shopping for a used car by picking the dirtiest one that still starts.
It feels wrong, but for resilience, it's often the right move. A plant that looks perfect at some high-end nursery has been babied every single day.
Hmm.
That tells you what it looks like at its absolute peak performance.
Okay.
But the plant that just looks fine after 6 weeks of bad watering at a big box store, that plant is telling you what its absolute survival threshold is.
Yeah.
And that information is gold if you're a busy person who, can't fuss over your garden every hour.
That is a huge takeaway. For
Yeah.
anyone listening who wants knowledge they can apply tomorrow, if you want low-maintenance plants, plants that won't die if you go on vacation, stop looking at the perfect ones. Start assessing the survivors.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you're turning a commercial flaw into your personal advantage. You're pre-vetting that plant for real-world conditions before you even buy it. You look for the signs of neglect, but then you also look for the signs of life. The growth tip is still vibrant. That's resilience right there.
Well, the plant that passed this neglect test and totally captivated our observer, even though they admit they don't really like vines because there's so much work, is the garlic vine. The fact that it won them over means the display must be something truly special.
It's the structure first. That's what gets you. The source describes these magnificent, dense clusters of trumpet-shaped blooms. And they're not just scattered around, they're profuse right at the ends of the branches. Just imagine a whole shrub just covered in these floral trumpets.
But the thing that really defines it, the key aha moment that you can't forget, is the color cycle of the flowers.
Yep.
It means you get this whole palettes of different shades all on the plant at the same time.
It's a remarkable feature. It gives the plant so much visual depth.
Yeah.
So stage one, when they first open, they're young, they're saturated, a really rich, deep lavender, almost a royal purple. Bold.
And as they get older, that pigment starts to fade, right?
Right. Precisely. That's stage two, mid-age. The color just sort of washes out. It becomes a softer, more delicate lilac, almost a sky blue. And you get this amazing two-tone effect with the new deep purples right next to the pale ones.
And then the final stage, right before they drop, they go completely white.
Yes. Stage three, the color just vanishes and the flower turns pure white. So you literally have deep purple, soft lilac, and crisp white blooms all existing at the same time, often in the very same cluster.
Yeah.
It creates this incredible tapestry of color, and that's why it's so captivating.
It's a botanical marvel. It's designed to make you stop and stare. But now we have to talk about the sensory paradox, because this is where it gets its name and creates this total contradiction. Savory leaves, sweet flowers.
It's a complete duality. It is absolutely named the garlic vine because when you crush the leaves, and you have to crush them, you have to activate that defense, they release this strong, pungent, unmistakable garlic scent.
That classic sulfur compound smell.
Exactly. But then you lean in to smell those beautiful, multicolored flowers we just described. And they have a faint, sweet, almost honey-like fragrance. It's an evolutionary puzzle, a plant that's both savory and sweet, repellent in its leaves, attractive in its flowers.
Here's where we move beyond just how it looks and smells and touch on its utility. The source materials mention its traditional uses.
Absolutely. The plant is from South America, and it has a really long history in traditional medicine there. It's often used as an herb for various health issues. It's part of the Bignonaceae family, and it's pretty well known in regional folk medicine.
And just to be clear, we are strictly reporting what's in the source material. We're not giving out medical advice. But the key takeaway here for a modern gardener isn't the cure. It's the safety signal that this provides.
That's the point. The very fact that it's been traditionally consumed as an herb strongly suggests that the plant is non-toxic. It's generally seen as safe for people and for most common pets. So for any gardener worried about having kids or animals around, knowing you have a tough, beautiful, and non-toxic plant, that's a huge win.
So let's just recap. You have a plant that survived the commercial neglect test. It offers this stunning, complex visual display with the color shifts. It has a fascinating, savory, sweet scent profile, and it's considered non-toxic. That's a powerhouse.
It really is. It checks all the boxes. Beauty, hardiness, and safety. It's the perfect example of a plant that really rewards a deeper look.
So to summarize the core insights we've pulled out today, first, elevate your language. Real knowledge starts with the right words. Know the difference between a nursery, the grower, the propagator, and a garden retailer, the seller. And always, always do your research using the proper botanical name.
Second, remember that sometimes the messiest environment gives you the most honest answer. We learned the huge value of observing plants in those low-care retail settings. It's real-world data on which species are tough enough for your own garden.
And finally, the star of the show, the garlic vine, Mansoa alliacea. We learned about its dramatic color shift from purple to white on the same branch, and its amazing sensory paradox garlic leaves, honeyed flowers, all in one resilient, non-toxic plant.
So we'd encourage you to apply that principle next time you're out. Look for resilience in the face of, well, less than ideal care. Look past the perfect-looking plants and see what the survivors are telling you about how tough they really are.
And before we go, we'll leave you with a final thought, one that builds right on the source material. Given the garlic vine's dual scent profile, that potent savory note in the leaves, and the delicate sweetness of the flower, and its history as an herb, this raises a really important question about how we classify these complex organisms.
Yes. How could this plant's complex chemistry be used beyond just traditional medicine? Think about modern flavor profiling or even sophisticated fragrance development. I mean, we're always looking for new compounds, but here's a single hardy plant that provides both ends of the spectrum, savory and sweet. It forces us to think beyond just one single characteristic and to consider the plant's whole, dynamic, chemically fascinating life cycle.
Something profound to think about until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.